See how far we could go to maybe finish this brush. Let me make sure I got the right place. So, this doesn't work good. All right, so we're on page Reish Samach Aleph, and we're going to be reading the words of the Rav. Bir Lama Chasaros the Zahim Shlorim. Why are they black? That's a good question. We've seen this before. They're black. So the Rav writes, V'daki Chasaros Lamalo Haim Shlorim. He says that the hairs up above that are coming out of the head. Now he said when the moch and the katnas come in, these hairs come out. So he said the fish chosodim, yeah, hem mechusim toch yisod the evil. Why would they be black? You would think that then they would. Well, our tzitzis are white. So he says that when they're hidden inside of the yisod of ima, therefore they're covered over. The gam lihiyosim, and also with them being the bechinas mochin the katas the elokim, their elokims, shem dinim, which are dinim. But the question is that so what we do is that I guess when we put on the talis, we wrap ourselves around at the chazan. So there, though, when they come out the mizgalim, then it makes them white, it whitens them. Which is interesting. He's talking about katniss all the time. So we see that the actions of katniss really imitate the actions of godless, whether we concentrated on godless. Now we're talking about katniss, and these are mocha the katniss. He's so dinim the dechura caution because the dinim for the male side caution beresha, but this is the nature of what it's like. Right now we're in Scorpio, which is you would say like it's the deepest. One of the deepest parts of the beginning of the winter, which is the male side, the kosher with the big beresha menachem besofa, but in the end, they come down. Then you're going to have mocha the goddess. Nivka yisod. Then you see that here he uses the word nivka yisod. The sod breaks open. The ima shibamaka machaze at the place of the chest. The yota ha'ara misham, and the light goes out from there. Umeir malbin chute hatzitzios, and so it shines onto it, whitens the chutim of the tzitzios ashchayra. So he says it's really parallel. Shiba b'chinas akatnas, that the same way he says that the chut and the tzitzis, which were originally akatnas. I think it sounds like he was saying that maybe they don't get completely and totally whitened by the fact that they clear the chaza, and then maybe when the godless comes on, they completely whiten them. I'm not sure what he meant there. Let's look at number Kuf Kaf Aleph in the Tibet Kavanos. He says Vada. Let's go over here. It's really on the other side. So he has Hasa'aros and Nekroim Kotzim. Shehem is Pashtim Beresh is their Anpin and the Chaza Shalom, so they spread out to his chest. Hem Sa'aros Shlarnim, they're black. So he said they come out of the head, and they go all the way down, and they're black. V'chatam Shasa'aros Hololov Shlarnim, so the reason why they're black, Bishum Shachasadim Sha'ad Chaza, so that the Chasadim, we're talking about Chasadim Bekatnis, until the time of the until it reaches the chest. Hey, Mechusim B'Yisod the Ima, they're still inside of the Yisod of Ima, delivering these Mocha Nekatnis. Vein Bechem Gilui, they're not revealed at all, so they're dark. So that's why we say they're black, because they're in darkness. Yesh Tam Nosef, there's another reason, Ma Shahasa'aros Sha'ad Chaza, the Haim Sa'aros Shcharos. So until they reach the Chaza, is another reason why they're black. Because they're Mochen Dekatis in general anyway. Shehem Shemos Elokim, which are Elokims instead of Abayas. So he says, so these names really refer to dinim. So therefore the sa'aros which reach until that level, are completely and totally din. Kevin should sever shachor merabs the din. Call Masha Kosev and Rabshas Aros Hem Shchorim, but every time it's like he's right or black, Zechel calls him on He Yosef Nem Shachim Adachaz. But once you understand this, that there's also another side of the Chazah, which is the Gilui. But as they extend, they keep going downwards. The Yotzachim in the Yisod, the even they come out of the Yisod, the Vibah B'Melim is Galim B'Chasadim, then you see, here they are. Gashem is Galim B'Chasadim, and when the Chasadim are revealed, Az Chute Chatzitzin Mizgalim Agedech B'Chasadim B'Gedolim Shemas Arushal Zal. Let me read this again. He says, then the Chutim of the Tzitzis, they reveal themselves through these Chasadim, these big Chasadim. Now, I don't know why I said big Chasadim. The hairs themselves understand they're black. Because they're in their natural state. But then suddenly a spotlight is shown on them. From that point onward, and the Chasadim had the effect on them of sweetening them, whitening them, is lavdim chutei chatzitzis. Now I'm trying to picture in my mind how this is going on, and now because you're dealing with Kaddish, and he's saying that when you reach the Chazah, then there's a Gilui, just like we understand when we're always talking about Chasadim and Gevuros of Gadlus. Here we're talking about Kaddish. So there is also the same effect there. You're inside a Zeranpin, so there's a certain amount of light inside a Zeranpin when it's not just by itself, because previously it was covered in the Yisod of Ima. So that's a different Ima is a different entity. Now you say when you reach the cause of this, the Yisod stops. Now you're on the other side of Zeranpin in continence, and he says over there's light, and it whitens the hairs. Okay, so let's go on. Now he doesn't say become white, but they become whitened. This is the secret we learned. This is a code of a secret here. So this is what he wants to say. Go back to what he said. Now we're talking about the hairs of Zeranpin. These are the longer hairs that go from the head down to the chest. So he says, Now what I'm trying to say is, or what I'm trying to get at is that the hairs that when I think about hairs, I think about them outside of Zeranpin. Like they're falling down. Here he can't be that it's falling. It's falling on the outside of Zeranpin, I think, because it's in the inside of Zeranpin, as that's where the Malchin are. They're black. But once you get to the Chaza, then they start going to white. So he says that's a difference. But like I say, you're inside of Zeranpin. So I don't think of hairs that way, but he's telling me, I think he's saying that. But Nimsaki dinim the dechura, so it comes out like this: the dinim, the masculine dinim, shehema sa'ara shabarosho, the zeranpin, which are the hairs said are coming from the head of zeranpin. Heim kashin bereishach adachain shemina rosh va'adachazach behim kashin. So they start out. So we have these months. These are the Kabbalistic months coming up here. I believe that's what they say, culminating in Aquarius. So he said the Hainach Shemina Rosh V'Adachazach became caution. Maybe not. Maybe it's Messiah in Pisces really. So he said the Hainach Shemina Rosh V'Adachazach in caution. So to that point they're hard. But Naichem B'Sofa, and then at the end everything sweetens up. Because when you get to the bottom line down to the end, So now he answers a question that I had. So what's whitening them up? He says that the chasadim that are coming along with this, that are all pouring out of the Yisod of Ima, now they got a whitening quality. They whiten things. They wash things. Let's say there's another reason. So why they become white? Here's another reason. Okay, so we said that before. So tzitzis represents continence. So therefore continence is black. But after that, when he also gets mochen the godless, excuse me, Oz Nivkar Yisod the Ima. So then what happens then is the Yisod the Ima breaks up. Hamagia the Chazad Zah that reaches until the chest is Zeranpin. Because when the mochen of godless come into the body of Zah, and then you see the big time chasadim come in. So now this is a different story. He says here, slightly different. I said because it is the word breaks open. They're powerful, and as a result of that, they break open the Yisod of Ima, which is found at the Chazas Zeranpin. So once that happened, now you have the bright lights of the Chasadim. Let me see where we're going here. Okay, we're still going. So he said, so the light, the radiance that yotzes, you break it open. This also has a tremendous widening. Now I don't know if it's one versus the other, or like you say, if you looked at them, I don't know. They used to have these old TVs. You weren't around then, where they put a magnifying glass in front of the TV. The TV was small, the picture was small, but they put like a big, thing magnifier, made it look like bigger. So here's a case where you have the same thing, that is the mochin the katnus and the mochin the godless, both following a similar pattern, a similar idea, black and then we're saying whitened by the chasadim, but it's like a phase difference. It's like you have one is much more obscure, or it's not so bright as the other one, but it's going through the same pattern. Anyway, then he says the last one is that really does big time whitening job. Because until that time they were black. So but let's look at it like this. Since they're really mochen the katnas, small timers, so therefore they're black. This we just wants to contrast them. But when you put continence next to godless, it becomes wider. At that moment of the Bekiya, the Yisod of Ima, Islam it whitens them up. Let's go on to the next one, and I'll just keep trying to forge until, because we're close to the end of this drush. So he says, the Tam Lama Tzarech Le'echos Be'ez Kriya Shema. Why do you have to hold on to your tzitzis? Call Arba Kantos Keneged Chazit. And specifically, not you don't take two of them, like the two in the front or the two in the back. You take all four, and you have to put them by the Chazit. So the Rav writes for the Tam is for this reason. Tzorek Likach the Kabetz called the Arba Tzitzios Be'ez Kriya Shema. So when you go to say the Kriya Shema, you got to gather them all together. I don't know which Kriya Shema. I'm sure he means the Kriya Shema, the Yotzer. You should put them next to the chest. Because let's say that's the place you put them right at the fountain of where the chasadim are coming out, the godless, the chasadim. So I have a couple of questions there. When you put the he's talking about the Kriya Shema, so you would have already Sepinemius there, because you put on the tefillin and you moved up into Yotzer. I guess it's It's all in that level. Let's see where we're at now on number Kof Lamed Ches. He said, "V'keven shatzitzis mizgalim mislavdim b'makom b'chazav d'chein." He said, therefore, be'es amiris Kriya Shema, when you come to say the Kriya Shema, yesh the kachas of the kabez is called the arba tzitzios sheba arba kantus atalas. You got to get all of the different pieces together. The seam is tzitzios connected the chazav b'chalev shala adam and put them next to the chest, next to the heart of the person. So he says, because since at the place of the chest, Sham hu makom gilui chasadim, that's also the place where the chasadim are revealed. We have the big lights coming out. There's zman agad shebetzadima from that at that time. Vatam shemesim betzitz. Are you still there, Rebbe?
Yes.
Oh, I thought that was a hang-up sign. I'm sorry. So the reason why you put the tzitzis at the place of the chest, in the place of the heart, in order to whiten the tzitzis, which has already been talking about black hairs. So clearly, that comment that I made about the fact that, these hairs are growing on the inside of zera. Look, we have this previously in this piece. He had the hair of Eric Anpin that fell off the back of his head, was associated with Havayas or different. You had either the hairs or the flow of the whiteness, different kinds of things that strike the back of the head as their Anpin, and that's obviously on the outside of Eric Anpin, whatever Eric Anpin.
Yeah.
But over here, I know you haven't corrected me. So I'm assuming that you're seeing the same thing. I'm saying it's growing. It grows inside, because otherwise, how would it get? Huh?
Yeah, that's his Bible. We never said that before.
Even it's a big chiddush.
Yeah.
Yeah, if we got it right. But I don't. How else does it work? I mean, like you're saying, you could say, let's take it the other way. Let's say, well, it does grow off the top of his head, because. Previously, he had talked about Leah, and with one kind of, I don't remember which one was which, one kind of hairs went to Leah, and one kind of hairs went to Rachel. So where are they? They're in the back, going down the back side. So those would be the, I guess, the red hairs, and then the white hairs really not developed over here. I'm assuming that it's referring to this smacking of the hair of Eric Anpin with the Mochadis Anpin, and somehow it produces these white hairs. So it's not really dealt with over here. So then you have the black hairs. Now let's say they went around the back too. They went around to the back, but that doesn't make sense, because the gilu is in the panim, is in the front, is inside of Zeranpin. Okay, so that's where we're leaving it right now. So let's go on to, we're in number Kuf Mem Gimel. It's another piece. I like the way he does this for me. It's very easy for me if he breaks it up with little chapter heads. I think this is most, some of his older books don't have this. So and then he said, Be'inyan Mohin the Kapta Dezav B'Shem Mosam. So now he has a little drush over here. So he says there's actually, okay, you understand there's 8 threads. And now he says like this. So what are they in fact anyway? He's saying that your strings, when you look at your strings, it seems like for the last one, they're actually whitened strings that were originally black and inside of Ema. But on the other hand, the other thing which I really don't understand that well is that these are mokin makifi. So I'm not sure how that mixes into this. Also, we're talking about being inside of Zeranpin. Well, maybe they're not inside of Zeranpin. So maybe that would answer that question. I'm not sure. But at any rate, it's still open question. So anyway, because this aras yotzim in mochen the katnas, the sara as areas that develop from mochen the katnas. Mean the das is their anpin. Now let's go. He says, let's go into the das is their anpin. Yeshbo beside Abba, on the Abbadic side, Shnei Elokim, Shehem Arba. There are four Elokims over there by Abba. V'chein b'das the mitzad ima. Yesh bo shnei Elokim shehem Arba. There's also two Elokims, but actually they multiply to four. Sakakol shmona Elokim. Let's look at the Tiv and keep going. So he says, now Kuf Mem Gimel in the Tiv, it's at the bottom of the Tiv, and it says, V'bokol kanaf ma'arba kanfos yesh shmona chutim. There are 8 different threads. So he says, moving along, he says, V'ratan b'zera b'hu, what's the reason? HaChutim meramazim la'oros shel ha'sa'aros. So the chutim really are remez to the hairs, the head we've been talking about. Hayotzes v'mochen the kata shebadas. So he said that the zeranpin, which are coming out of the das zeranpin, which is where the at the cause of the zeranpin. V'adas zeranpin bizman katnusa when yesh bo shnei shemos alokem shehem chasadim megavuras the mitzad abba. Bekevin shahashnei alokim shehem chasadim megavuras the mitzad abba boim im lebushehem. They don't come by themselves; they come with a lavush. Gam became Shnei Shemus Elokim, and the Labushim are Elokim, so it's like a double Elokim there. Nimsa the Fizeh Sheyesh Arba Shemus Elokim B'Chasad B'Geburis the Das the Katnas the Zad B'Tzad Abba Shehem Shnei Elokim Hachug. They're the two Elokims that refer to Chasad and B'Geburos. The Imam Shnei Levushechem, and then they got the Levushechem. Gam came Shnei Elokim. The das, the katnas, the zad, the mitzad ima. You can repeat that. Yesh b'chem shnei shemus elokim. They have two elokims, which are the mochin himself. Sheilah shnei elokim. Shavach chasad v'geburas. The katnas, the zad, the mitzad ima. Hein boim melavushim b'shnei elokim. Mamela hein arba elokim. But along the way, there are 4 elokims, right? Shnayim Techasadim Geburas, Vishnei Alukem, Shehem Alabushim, Shalahem. So that's what it sounds like. Nimsa, Shebe'es Akatnas, Yesh Arba Elokem, B'das Dizad, B'tzad Abba, Shnei Elokem Achug, Vishnei Elokem, Shehem Alabushim, Shalahem, V'hem Yesh Arba Elokem, B'das Dizad, the Katnas, the B'tzad Ima, Shehem Elokem, Shehem Achug, Vishnei Elokem, Shehem Alabushim, da. He's repeating and helping, okay, in that way. And Mamela Kulim Yachad Hem Shmona Elokim, so count them up. There are 8 of them, the Katnas, the Das, the Zah. So Chad Shem Arba Elokim Chug the Abba B'De'ima, V'Arba Elokim Shehem L'Vushechem Shal Chug Hanal, V'Genegdam Yesh Shmona Chutim B'Knaf. So therefore, that's how you got the count of 8. You went through the whole thing and da. Next. So then he says, Amar Kosev Chaim. So I, the writer Chaim, meaning he's the scribe, nearly as daite shetor Shomea. Who's the Shomea? It's him. I think, seems to me that whoever heard this, he didn't say it's him, made a mistake. This is what it should say. Shehem arba mochen de b'tzad abba. So he got away from that whole idea. He said you have an Abba side and Ima side. Now we're coming to the drawing. And all of them are different aspects of the name Elokim. So then you have the same thing the side of Abba, Shehem Arba Yakos, which are 4 Yakos, B'milui Asma. And then there's another 4 beside Ima, Shehem Arba Akis, Shnayim the Yudin, Ve'echad Alafim, Ve'echad Dehain. V'kulna bebechinas Mochen the godless, and all of them are considered at this point, we're going to talk about Mochen the godless. V'chein ko yishmonu chutim gam kein. Now, I know this is an effort to try to really put this back together again. So we went off and we said we want to talk about just about Das. We said the 4 chutim, the 8 chutim, represent 2 different aspects of Abba. It means the essence of the Chasadim or Geburos, coming from Abba or Ima, and the Levushim. Now we're saying something different. So because what he's talking about here are Mochin the godless. Over there, I thought he was talking about Mochen the continence, but I guess we have to touch that. So in other words, like we were given the formula, which we're about to say. So let's get into it and see if I can't answer my question, which I haven't stated out really. Rabbi Chaim Vital the Godel of Nasnuso, Maskir Atzmo he calls himself Hakosi. So he says, and this person, this writer, the Mashimana as a Shemus of the Rock B'das Dazah is that he's saying that this is only this whole thing develops out of the Das of Zah. He said the Hare ain't a double king, but that's not right. Let's see, I might have lost him there. Rabbi, are you there? Okay, that was one of the longest periods we've had, I think, without an interruption. Uh, so I don't know where I lost you. I lose you at the beginning. Rabbi Chaim Vital, a Godel of Nasuso. Then he said, "B'man shemonach as Hashemus Elokim Rak B'das Dezah." Over there, that's his mistake. The Hare ain't the Davar king. It's not like that. He says, so he Girsa Nechoy. Now we're going to say how it should go. Shazah Yeshlo Arba Mochen de B'tzad Abba. He's four Mochen de B'tzad Abba. Shehem Chochma B'midah V'Chasadim V'Gevuros. Now here's the difference over the previous one. I thought he was talking about Katniss. So there he's talking about Katniss. Now here we're talking about after the Chiluf, and these are Mochen de Godless. That's what I think. But then it might bring the question that I'm having is that since he says over and over that the tzitzis refers to Mochin to Katniss, then why are we coming in? We're talking about the chiluf and the mochin, the godless that are going to Zer Anpin. Are they in fact two different things, or what does it have to do with tzitzit? So let's find out. So let's see like this. He says. Let me read it again. I know we're running out of time. Shazah yeshlo arba mochin b'tzad abba shehem chochma b'bina v'chasad gevuros. V'chein yesh neza arba mochin b'tzad ima shehem chochma b'bina chasad gevuros. Just the same thing. So all of these four mochin that Zah has, heim arba mochin, the mitzad abba, v'heim arba mochin the mitzad even the four mochin the mitzad aviva kulim heim shemo shel elokim b'shinu miluehem. So all of them are names of God. V'chein yesh b'zecha b'gadlus. So he said the same thing in God with Gazah in Godless. See, because here's the difference. Over there in Godless, he was saying that the names are Elokims, but here he says Heim Arba Mochin the B'tzad Ima Kulam Heim Shemos Elokim Shinui Miluehem. So those are all Elokims with differences in the way that the Milui goes. V'chein Yesh B'zecha B'Gadlus Arba Mochin the B'tzad Abba Shehem Choch B'Bina Chasad B'Gevuros. He said V'Eloch Arba Mochin the Gadlus Sheyesh B'zecha B'tzad Abba Heim Arba Milui Yaakov. So Shehem, we're not going to go through all of that. So he said, "Yesh the zecha begadlus od arba mochen the b'tzad ima." We have also mochen the tzad ima, mochen the gadlus yesh the zecha b'tzad ima heim arba milui aki. So these are the mochen coming into Zer Anpin at the time of godless. Now I'm trying to see. Now that we know this, right? What does this have to do with tzitzit? Arba milui Yaakov on the mochen the b'tzad abba. V'chein arba milui aki the bezucha the b'tzad ima. Heim hamochem the godless sheyesh l'zah. Now I'm trying to think back that because he started talking about 32s there and 31s that apparently that it affects the strings. Now and he's been. I'm trying to understand this. It affects the strings. Because we say that I keep trying to remember this now. We were chaser, and therefore we had to bring purple over to it, or green. I'll call it purple or whatever, green blue over to it in order to, which represents malchus, which also makes the whole thing shalom. This had to do with godless, but it also had to do with the counts of the strings. We went through the 13 and the 13 different, I don't know, wrappings, the different, which I never bought that I'm not settled enough to have done that yet. To got that talis. The Kavan Shechamavach and the Zerah Mechem Shmonis, since there's 8 of them, eight mochim. Hey mitzad hakatnas shehem mishmona elokim. If you look at it that way, just saying in katnas is all elokim. Hey mitzad hagad shehem mishmona mochim shehem arba milu yaku v'arba milu yaki. V'chein osim shmona chutim b'kanaf. So therefore, what you're doing, you make a shmona chutim each side because each one of them is the moach itself. Ramaz al shmona mochim sheyesh lo b'zav shehem b'tzad abba be'ima. So either way, it's going to be elokims, or different combinations of elokims, are going to be combinations of the Yaakov Akis. So the rush zeh tzarich loma behechler sheshmona chutim sheyesh b'talis cotton. Then we're talking about the talis cotton. Heim ramaz the shmona elokim shehem mochin the god the shmona chutim sheyesh b'talis gado. Heim ramaz the arbech of b'milu Yaakov the arba b'milu Yaki. So then, period. That's really it. And now he says that the one up above, which I guess we'll take the next time, is really Ke'es Adaleg and Lafarish Sof Drush Hey. I'm not going to get involved at the end of Drush Hey. They don't want to translate it. So he's not apologetic about why he didn't explain it. He just says he's not gonna. And that's it. Led us to ponder what's going on with the tzitzis. If the tzitzis represent mochin the katnus, from the side of the katnus, so, but the godless has a lot to do with what flows through the tzitzis, apparently. So, something like that. If you think of something, let me know. Thank you very much for learning with me. Have a wonderful Shabbos. Call to.